Okay, mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can anybody hear me? You guys, there's a chat box on the side that you should have access to. And so I just wanted to welcome you to my first free webinar. I'm so geeked and so excited to share this information with you, and I probably have to slow down because I'm like super excited. So let me know if you can hear me. We're gonna wait probably another 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, hey Ebony, and shout out where you're from, so then I know where you're from so I can give you a shout out. So Ebony says hi, Sharonda's on. Oh, thank you. She says, I'm so happy to be here. Yay! What up, Mary? Welcome. So I'm so excited you guys are here. Yay! Thank you for all the love and support in my new venture. I'm so excited. So just say where you're from, type it in the chat box, and I'll shout you out. I know Mary's in Atlanta, Sharonda's in Atlanta, Fabiola is in Florida. Ebony, where are you at? Calvin is check, okay. All right, Toya's on, Atlanta, NYC. Jasmine Nicole, where are you? Come on, shout out where you guys are at so I can give you like a shout out. Before we get started, we're gonna give some people maybe about 3 more minutes before we get into like the meat and potatoes. Somebody said they're from Jupiter. Okay. Somebody just checked in from Dallas. Hey, everybody. Okay, somebody from America, Maryland. Okay, welcome to hey, all right now, A-Town. Okay, so we have a lot of A-Town and okay. All right, I see y'all. All right, so like 2 more minutes before we get started. Oh, I'm super excited. This is St. Louis in the house. All right, Ebony. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm going to try. Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm sorry, Stephen, if I messed that up. Yeah, welcome, everybody. I'm so excited. All right, 1 more minute. We're going to get started. Bronxville, okay. Welcome. Let's see. No one is from heaven. We're all from heaven. Thank you, Miss Johnson. Oh, I'm so excited. This is my first webinar ever for my new venture, OMG, I Love Your Hair. This is for the empowerment section. So this is what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This free webinar is called 4 Secrets on How to Get Unstuck and Out of the Rut in 2015. So I want you guys to hopefully close down what's going on in your computer because we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what this training is about. And I'm going to pray before we go into it. So wherever you're at, make sure that you close off all the links on your computer so you don't get distracted. Make sure the TV's off and that you're focused. We're probably going to go for about 20 to 30 minutes while I'll give you some free information of what's worked for me. So I'm going to go ahead and pray. Holy Father, thank you for giving me the inspiration and the wisdom to push through my fear to do this. Thank you for planting these seeds and these dreams in my heart. Please bless my mouth and my mind and my spirit so that I deliver this information so that people are able to receive it and be blessed and make changes, positive changes in their lives. Thank you, God. I bless this webinar. I bless every single person on this webinar. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. And so it is. All right. Good for me, good for you. All right. No, you're not supposed to see me because I might look a little crazy. It's about 1 a.m. my time because I'm currently broadcasting from West Africa. So we're going to get started. And like I said, the webinar is called 4 Secrets on How to Get Out of the Rut and Unstuck in 2015. And you guys can go ahead and chat and send me questions about what it is you want to hear, what's been bothering you. And I'm going to start a little bit with my story and how I came to do the things that I'm doing currently, which are very different from what I went to school which is very different from what I got my multiple degrees in. So my story starts with always kind of waiting for the right time. Waiting for the right time for everything to be perfectly in place before I took the leap. And when I say that, I went to law school. I got a law degree. My background is in law and I speak French. And I always wanted to start my own company to inspire and empower people. But I went to law school because I wanted to be a lawyer. I accomplished that. And in the summer after I took my bar exam, a lot of people were asking me, oh my God, what do you do with your hair? Oh my God, what do you eat? And how do you stay so positive and so empowered? And I was like, oh, well, I do this. They were like, you should start a blog. You should start a blog. And I thought, yeah, I'll start a blog one day, whatever. And so it got to a point where I was having what's called lizard brain. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of lizard brain. If you notice lizards, they kind of just sit there in the sun with their tongues out, not necessarily making any kind of movements, looking at everything happen around them and wondering how it happened. And so there came a point in my life, one night, sitting on the couch, where I decided enough is enough. I'm tired of always waiting for everything to be perfect, always waiting for that sign. I am the sign. And so after I got my bar results and I got the wonderful message that I had not passed the bar, I decided that it was time to move forward and create my site. Um, and I have no technical background, and I decided that I was going to find out how, and I invested in myself. And it was pretty scary because the way that I invested in myself meant that I had to get training in something that I didn't go to school for. And um, it was taking a leap of faith, which was really hard, especially when everybody around you is doing something that has to do with the status quo or is going along with what they went to school for and asking you questions about, well, are you going to retake the bar? What are you doing? And I want you guys to understand with this training that it's trusting your spirit and trusting the message that you got from God, not what every single mama, your cousin said, what your daddy think you need to do, because at the end of the day, it's what your spirit tells you and what God places in your heart. So I started my site and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to study for the bar and retake again. And in the meantime, while I was making all those plans, working on my site, learning how to set up a website, what I wanted to talk about, a friend of mine sent me some information for a Fulbright fellowship to live, study, and work in Ivory Coast. And I remember waiting to apply. I remember getting the lizard brain again and getting stuck in the rut. And I'm gonna go more into this when I start to share some of the secrets about what made me get out of that. It has to do a lot with two F words, not those F words, silly. Those are not the ones I'm talking about, but two F words that stop us from accomplishing those big goals. And I'm going to share those later on. And so finally, I was able to use one of those secrets to get out of that mentality of just always waiting for something to be perfect, waiting for that word, and said I was going to apply. I did not tell a soul that I applied. I told my mother, and at the time, my boyfriend. I told no one. And I think that speaks testament to those deep desires. I had always wanted a Fulbright ever since I was in high school and never told a soul because I was like, that would never happen. I'm not that smart. I mean, I'm smart, but not that smart. People that get Fulbrights end up being like Secretary of State one day. Who I can't do that. And so that also goes to tell you all the negative chatter that we have in our minds and about how we can't do something because we think we're not worthy enough. And that I will delve into in one of the secrets as well, how to get over that self-sabotage of not thinking that you're good enough to accomplish what you've been put on earth to do. So I applied for the Fulbright and I got it. And it was a really powerful moment for me. Oh, and I'm going to go into the chat room. Jasmine Nicole talked about her lizard is a demon I call procrastination. And it's true because we all have this procrastination about the things we know we should do, but we don't do them. And if I had waited and procrastinated on my Fulbright, I would have never gotten it because of the fear that stands in the way. Because what I'll also share later on is that procrastination is really fear in disguise. So we'll delve more into that. And so I ended up getting my Fulbright, and that's kind of where my journey started. And a lot of people send me private messages. Some of my friends and clients that I've worked with always tell me, oh my God, I see your pictures, I see your website, I can never do that. And I always say, I'm just like you. it may seem like I have everything together, everything is perfect. And some of my closest friends know what I've struggled with and what I've gone through, and how doubt can cloud your mind that you'll not be able to do it. And so I just want to say that I'm not sitting up high on some pedestal, but I've just gotten to the point where I told myself enough is enough. And if you know me personally, I curse. And enough is enough to the point where it's like, we need to get this shit together. And I turned 30 at the end of the month, and it's going to be amazing. And I told myself that I couldn't go into my third decade always waiting and looking at other people and wondering, man, I wish I could do that. What's stopping you? Like, if you take a minute and literally realize what's stopping you? So yeah, so that's kind of my story. I am currently living in West Africa. I have decided that I will be living between the United States and West Africa and doing consulting here and building my business. And it's funny because a lot of people think that my business is just my bread and butter, but I think that when you go for those big goals, you need to make sure that you also have a cushion. For me, my cushion is still being able to, for the meantime, hold down a 9 to 5 doing consulting in the legal field, which is what I went to school for. But that doesn't mean that I push my dream of owning my own self-empowerment, hair, health, and inspiration company. So that's kind of my story. I'm going to delve into secret number 1. And secret number 1 is one of our F words. It's not that F word, so don't get excited. It's actually called focus. And I hope that you guys are taking notes. It's something that I asked you guys to do at the beginning of the call, shut down everything on your computer while we do this free webinar, because I think that especially today, in our world today, we're so unfocused and so distracted. I want to ask you guys where your focus is. On a serious tip, like actually think about where your focus is. When you're talking to a close friend, are you paying attention to what they're saying? Are you checking your phone? When you are at work, are you actually focusing on the task at hand? Are you on Facebook, GChat, and your attention is split? So for me, one of the secrets that I discovered, especially in running a successful business and actually getting projects and people to hire me through OMG, I love your hair, is focus. That is the number 1 secret for me, is focus. And it's so funny to me because people are like, man, I already knew that. Clearly, I know how to focus. But that's not necessarily the case, because if it were, then you would have done it already. So my challenge to you is to ask yourself, where's your focus? These days, our focus is sometimes outside of ourselves. And IG, Mary said IG, which is true. And I'm going to talk about this later on. And I believe in God, and I respect whatever higher power if you don't believe, but I believe in God. And I believe that obedience is better than sacrifice. And I believe that when you are trying to get your shit together and actually get out of the rut, you have to start doing the things that you're supposed to do. And that means, to me, letting go of social media. I will give you an example. When I was studying for the bar, I studied for 3 months. I shut my Facebook down. I didn't have IG. And the amount of work that I was able to accomplish was crazy. And that's because I focused on only one thing. So I want you to decide right now. We are mid-month. We just started a new month. I want you to decide where your focus is and what is that one thing that you are going to work on for the next 30 days. Because I think that's super important. When you make that decision, for me, my goal for 2015, I have smaller ones, but my biggest goal is for me to build my business. And so that means that's where my focus goes. And so I focus on one thing at a time. And so that means social media is cut down, multitasking. I'll even share a funny story with you guys. So I was getting prepped up for the webinar, and I was doing like my sell page for my program that's coming up. And I was on Skype and I was doing all this stuff. And it's funny because I was like, BB, you need to practice what you preach. I was doing all this stuff and trying to get everything ready, and I was chatting and doing all this stuff, and I suddenly deleted my entire sales page. It took me 4 days to put that sales page together. I almost had a heart attack, and I had to take a break and close every single thing on my computer and sit quietly and connect back to God and actually come back to that first secret of focus. And by the grace of God, I had a copy saved somewhere. But it goes to show you that whatever you focus on is what will show up in your life. And so you have to make that conscious decision. You don't necessarily have to go and yell it and scream it to the universe, but you have to make that conscious decision for yourself that this is where my focus is going to go. I'm going to deal with one thing at a time, and that's how I'm going to be successful. I have a friend who's currently trying to lose weight. One of her main goals for the first 6 months of the year is her health. That's it. It's not her health to launch a new business, to make 5 new friends. No, it's to focus on her health. And so I want you again to understand, where is your focus? Pick one thing. So that's going to be your call to action for the first secret, is to pick one thing that you will focus on for the next 30 days. And if you're able to do that, then I can guarantee you that you will definitely start to see changes in your life. I want to also give you guys an example. I haven't talked about it yet, but I'm publishing my first book. And it's so funny because a lot of my friends who talk about, man, you should write a book one day. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. But like people said, one day is not part of the week. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but there's not one day. And so it got to the point where I had to ask myself, where was my focus? I always wanted to write a book, so I needed to make that happen. So I also employed under focus what's called the 30-minute rule. And it worked amazing for me. An hour was too much, because you can't front and lie that you don't have 30 minutes to spare in your day, no matter how busy you are. So I want you guys, again, your call to action for secret number 1 is to pick one thing you will focus on for the next 30 days, every day for 30 minutes. My 30 minutes a day was in the morning before I got ready to go to work, brush my teeth. So whether it was from 6 to 6:30, that's when my 30 minutes was. No Facebook, I didn't check email, I blocked everything on my computer, and I sat in front of a blank page and just typed. And before you knew it, I had 100 pages. So I really want you to practice that call of action. 30 minutes, 30 days, no matter what. So moving on, another part of focus is guarding your mind and guarding your attention. Because if you're not careful, especially with our cell phones, you get your IG on there, you get your Facebook, you have access to the internet and the news all the time. But you have to make sure that you guard your mind, because there's so much craziness and foolishness that you could. Hold on, somebody's asking me a question. You mean one thing for yourself? Yes, because my job requires focus, but it's not my passion. Okay, all right, you can do 30 minutes. All right, answer the question from Jasmine Nicole. But guarding your mind, I just got off of a 40-day fast. And so I had to be very careful with how I guarded my mind and my spirit. There were places I no longer went to. There were people I no longer talked to. And you don't have to be rude. You can just be like, I am taking a new class that requires me to do my work. And so you need to guard your mind while you focus, because whatever you focus on is wherever the work that you do will go. You have to guard your mind and where you put your attention. So that's what I'm going to close with. And let me know if you have any questions before we move on to secret number 2, which is going to be amazing and great. Any questions? Looking in the chat box, I'll wait. If not, I'll move on. Roxanne said one day is not a part of the week. That's true, because we all talk about one day, but it's not a part of the week. Make it happen. Okay, so I'm going to move on to secret number 2, which is, what is your motto? I'm going to tell you what my motto is. And I think that at the beginning of the year, it's really important to come up with what your motto is so it grounds the rest of your year. My motto is, my life is my message. And that's as simple as it is. My life is my message. And that goes to how I live my life and the choices that I make every day. And so for me, I've always been a happy, bubbly person. But when people look at my life, I want them to see the possibilities, not just what I've done, but the possibilities for their own life, especially for Black women, because I'm a Black woman. And when you see somebody else doing something with their lives, you have the kind of inkling that it might be possible for you. So for me, my motto is my life is my message. So I want to challenge you to understand that whatever your passion is, or whatever that thing that keeps kind of gnawing at you that you need to do, that kind of keeps whispering at you, because we all have that thing. Like there's that thing where it's just like, man, you know what you need to do. One of my best friends, she is an amazing cook, and she didn't go to school for cooking. She did later on, but she became a chef because she always had that little thing in her mind that was like, hey, you should pursue this. You'd be really good at cooking. You should be a chef. And so she followed it. So it's understanding what you want your motto to be and what you want your life to represent. And understanding that it's not just you, it's bigger than you. You're amazing, you're important, but I personally believe that we were put on earth to thrive and to be examples to other human beings. So by you not following whatever God is calling you to do, is taking away from the world. Using a crazy example, Facebook. If that dude had never started Facebook when I started college, like 10 years ago, we would never had a way to communicate and share and have community in a village. And so you have to kind of think about what you want your legacy to be, and understanding that it's bigger than you. And to me, that takes away the fear. When I understand that I don't know, I'm about to be 30, so hopefully Jesus will give me another 60 years. In like 70 years, I'll be dead. But what's going to stay behind is my legacy and the way that I live my life. I am empowered when I look at other Black women and how they're living their lives and how they're thriving. Maya Angelou, peace be to her soul, was an inspiration for me because of the way that she lived her life. So secret number 2 is, what is your motto? What is it that you want to describe you for 2015? So I want to challenge you for the second secret to come up with your motto for your life for 2015 and make sure it's good. I think that mine is pretty awesome. My life is my message, and that encourages me to be very authentic in how I live my life. I want to have laughter. I want to be goofy. I want to make lots of money. I want to show people the possibilities of living and not just surviving. So that is the first 2 secrets. Secret number 1 was focus. And I saw a comment in the chat box from Sharonda, who was talking about working on balancing my focus because she has a 3-year-old that is a busybody. And I want to pose this question to you. What would you do if you didn't think it was impossible to rebalance your focus, even with a 3-year-old? Because I have a friend who's an entrepreneur who started her own branding business, who has, I think she has a 4-year-old, and she had to come up with methods on how to be able to focus for blocks of time. And so I challenge you to find whatever works for you. If it has to be taking your daughter to a relative's house just for an hour or 2, while you just get that block of focus, because you'll get so much more accomplished without any distractions. And I promise you, I'm going to talk about this towards the end of the training about the quantum leap. The quantum leap is like, oh my God, BB blew up overnight. No, Negro. No, she didn't. It started with small steps. And so just 30 minutes a day. Can you imagine if you did something for 30 minutes every single day for a year? You would have an entirely brand new life. So don't get distracted by like, man, I want it to happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. You have to build it. So that is the second secret. And we're going to take a little break. I wanted to also talk to you guys about the fact that my motto for me is my life is my message. And so with that, It means that through my site, I do empowerment work. I not only deal with natural hair, how to care for it, how to make it look fabulous, how to feel good about it, dealing with health and green smoothies and just a whole bunch of crazy health stuff that people look at me weird even today, but thank me later. I created a program because I noticed that every single year we talk about all these big ass changes we're going to make, and then it's 2016 and we haven't done anything. And that's not to guilt trip you, but that's actually to make you take a closer look at what's important to you and what's important to your life and what you need to get accomplished while you're here on earth. And so I created a program that's called Enough is Enough. Get Your Ish Together signature program. And it starts on February 1st. If you're interested in joining, I am going to put the link in the description. It's a program module with everything that keeps you stuck and blocked up and limited in your thinking and how to get rid of that. And I think it's really powerful to stay humble because I am a very forceful person with my personality, but I've realized that in order for you to become successful, you have to become humble enough to understand that you're not going to get everything and you have to ask for help. And so I had to ask for help, and maybe it's time that you ask for help because if you haven't accomplished it and it's been a really long time, maybe you kind of need the guidance and the tools. Somebody says it sounds like I'm breaking up. Am I still breaking up? Breaking up? I'm hoping that we're good on the sound. Are we good on the sound? I'm going to assume we're good on the sound, and I'm going to keep going. Hopefully. Yes? Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So yeah, so I, along with these secrets in the program that I created that's called Enough is Enough, Get Your Ish Together. It's 4 weeks. It starts on February 1st. It's 4 modules. And we deal with all the gunk that keeps you stuck and limited. We deal with forgiveness, which is one of the F words. We deal with fear because we all have fear, like scared to actually get started, not knowing how to get started. I also deal with taking the trash out. Taking the trash out means getting rid of the distractions and the excuses that have kind of kept you playing small. And I've had a few private clients that have told me that a lot of fear and past hurt has kept them not living their full potential and getting distracted. So I would love for you guys to join me. The link is in the description box. Let me know if you can't see it, but the course is called Enough is Enough, Get Your Ish Together signature program, 4 weeks, 4 modules. It starts on February 1st. It's going to be really powerful because it's stuff that I've actually done to get my stuff together when I felt like I was just out there confused, overwhelmed, unfocused, and feeling bad about myself and actually to a certain extent depressed because I couldn't understand why I couldn't get this done. I was smart, I was intelligent, but I had to go and do the work. And that's what we do during those 4 weeks is actually do the work. So check out the sales page. Hope you like it. There's a lot of bonuses. I do affirmations, which are really powerful for me. I talk to myself. And yeah, I sound crazy, but when I'm inside of my house, I talk to myself and they're spoken prayers. And spoken prayers are what motivate me and remind me that I'm worthy. Because I think that we deal with a lot of doubt that we can't do it, that people are not going to support us and believe in us. We're scared that it won't work. Just a lot of stuff and a lot of gunk that we've been taught since we were kids. And it's time to actually say to yourself, enough is enough. I'm ready to actually move on. So we're going to move on to secret number 3. I'm excited about this one. It's called the F word. And no, it's not that F word. It's actually called forgiveness. And forgiveness was something that I didn't think would be a secret when it came to getting out of the rut and getting unstuck. But I realized that when you are not forgiving yourself, when you are not forgiving the people that may have hurt you, that may have wronged you, you're blocking your blessings. And you don't forgive for the other person, trust me. You forgive for yourself so that you're I had a situation recently that kind of knocked me off kilter, and it made me really, really dig deeply on whether or not I'd be able to forgive. But what I realized in that moment is that if I didn't forgive, me and that person would be stuck in limbo forever. I would probably get sick from it. I wouldn't be able to live my life full of joy and laughter and goofiness, which is what I like to do, and actually make moves. So I had to go into my spirit and work on forgiveness. And a lot of people don't know how to forgive. And I don't think it's necessarily knowing how to forgive, it's the willingness to be able to do so. There are different ways that you can forgive a past lover, a past boyfriend, husband, a past business deal gone wrong, a past business that failed, or even a past exam that you didn't succeed at. I had to do that work, and it wasn't easy in the beginning, but it's just like working out. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. So I want you to take a moment, and this is going to be your next call of action for secret number 3 for the F word, which is forgiveness. I want you to, you don't have to do it now, you can do it after we're done with the webinar, but I want you to pick one person. I want you to either pick one person, and that person can also be yourself, because I've had to do forgiveness work on myself for decisions that I made in the past and feeling guilty. So pick one person that you would want to punch up, beat up, throw into hell, run over with a car, and never see again. Pick that one person. And I want you to, in your quiet time, whether you meditate, you pray, you go on walks to talk to God, I want you to take that person and I want you to say the following. I'm going to also type it in the chat box. I forgive you for not being who I wanted you to be, and I bless you, and I let you go. I forgive you for not being who I wanted you to be. I bless you, and I let you go. And at first, when I first did it with a situation that knocked me off kilter, the words stuck in my mouth. I did not want to say it. I was like, they were wrong. They did me wrong. They need to suffer. But you come to a point as you get older, hopefully you evolve and understand that it's not about the other person, it's about you. And if you are trying to get out of the rut and get unstuck and you don't understand why your life isn't flowing and why it's not moving forward, you have to deal with the F word. And it's one of the things that people do not want to deal with because it feels like you're giving up your power. But in actuality, you're standing in your power because you're not letting that circumstance, that situation, that person, or that experience define who you are in this present moment. And so I found it to be a really powerful tool for me. It helps you get rid of that blame game. And it helps you step into your own power and actually feel powerful. And it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not going to lie. The situation that I was dealing with that I overcame, no issues. I can talk to the person today. We can go to lunch. I can laugh about it. I had to work on it for a year. And it took me an entire year to forgive one person in one situation. So I want to say, be gentle with yourself, but you have to come to a point where you get sick and tired of just existing. And I feel like we were meant and we were put here on earth to thrive and be amazing, successful beings. But in order to do that, we have to recognize our part in the situation and take action in forgiveness. So as I close the secret number 3, the F word, forgiveness, your call to action is to pick one person and say the following to them in your quiet time, or you can write it over and over. I forgive you for not being who I wanted you to be. I bless you and I let you go. And I'm reading some of the comments in the comment box. It's so hard when you don't want to let them go, leave them behind though, family. I understand that. I have somebody who is very close to me in my family that doesn't necessarily support what I'm doing. And it's been a very big issue for forgiving them. But even if it's family, a best friend, maybe they're not meant to go where you're going, or maybe this is just the break that you need in the relationship. Because letting go also has to do with self love. And it's going to sound all woo woo and all that other stuff. But when you love yourself enough, you have to let go of situations and people that hurt you or that are not the best interest for your mental and spiritual and physical health. And that's point blank. You have to come to a point where you love you more and love them from a distance, like somebody said. You love them, you bless them, there's no ill will, but they can't necessarily be in your immediate space. And so working on that forgiveness helps to get rid of those feelings. But that's what's worked best for me in my life and in my client's life, especially for a client of mine who was dealing with huge issues with her mother. And she had to put her mother on timeout, and it was not easy. And somebody said, not everybody that is with you is meant for you, and that's true. And that's a hard lesson, especially from me speaking personally in personal love relationships, because you want it to work, you want it to last. But sometimes it's not meant to last. It's meant to be a lesson. Um, and somebody else said you can't stay stuck with other people, and that's true. And there's something that I read in a book that said, no man is your friend, no man is your enemy, all men are your teachers. And that goes for family members, friends. No one is meant to hurt us, they're meant to teach us something. And if you take it like that, you can do your forgiveness work a lot easier and let go of those emotions. Um, no man is your friend, and no man is your enemy. All men are your teachers. So I'm going to close section or secret 3. Make sure you do your call to action after we get off the phone, and make sure that you do it every day. Do it in the quiet when you wake up in the morning or before you go to sleep. Pick that one person. It can be a family member. It can be an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-business that failed. And just say, I forgive you for not being who I wanted you to be. I bless you and I let you go. So we're going to move on to the last secret. Let's see, hold on, I'm getting a question. Is there a better way to forgive someone to get closure as far as communication means? Text, face-to-face, smoke signals, what's the best? That all depends. It's up to you. I know that with my past situation that I had to deal with, I did not want to talk to the person. I was so angry and so hurt and so bitter and so resentful that I did not want to talk to the person, and I needed to do my own forgiveness work in my personal space. And so if you feel as though you need closure, and sometimes the interesting thing is, the beautiful thing is, sometimes you don't get closure and you still have to let go. And I say that the world, the universe, God, however you see this whole thing we're living, is interesting, because when I let go and I released that person and no longer felt any foolishness and craziness towards them and lived my life and just let it go, is when they came back and gave me the full closure and the apologies that I had wanted a year before. But when I let it go and no longer expected it and no longer waited for it and desired it, is when the apology came. Someone in the chat room is suggesting that you write a letter. I would say write a letter, because sometimes writing a letter, you can write everything down, pour your heart out, and if you want, you can email them if you don't necessarily want the communication to keep going. Because everybody has their work to do, so you don't know what that other person is going through and what kind of space they were in when it happened. So I would suggest you can write a letter. Someone else said you can write the letter and not send it. You can also write the letter and just burn it if you want. So there are different ways to do it. So the letter seems like it's the best way. So I'm going to go ahead and move on so we can close, because I don't want to keep you guys on too long because it's getting late. So the last secret is secret number 4. Be like Nike and just do it. So I came up with this title. It sounds funny, but you're gonna remember it because what's Nike's slogan? Just do it. And I said be like Nike because what are you waiting for? I get a lot that, let's see, hold on before I move on. I'm looking in the chat room. Yeah. Someone in the chat room, Brandon said, I had a situation like that before and I had to choose. Doesn't mean it was easy to release it and pray to God every day um, for peace in my heart until I felt it. And that's exactly what I was talking about, just to come back to it. You have to do it every day. And this, you're going to feel salty. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to hate it because you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? They hurt me. It was horrible. But at the end of the day, especially as I get older, you want peace. Peace is what you want in your spirit for you to be able to move on with your life and accomplish what God has placed in your heart. You don't want any kind of resentment or any bitterness or anger. So you have to do it every single day, and you have to pray on it and work on it every single day until it kind of dissolves. So getting back to secret number 4, be like Nike and just do it. So I'm going to ask you, what are you waiting for? I'll wait. What's stopping you? Doubt? The other F word? If you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? So let's say, I'm going to try and see. Okay, so the worst thing that could happen. I was invited to give a talk about entrepreneurship here in Ivory Coast. And I was also invited to do a talk in front of 200 people. I almost passed out. And I put off preparing the stuff and getting everything together, which is so funny because it has to do with self-sabotage. It's something that I said that I wanted for so long. And when it finally came to me, I was doubtful that I could actually perform and that was what I had to say was worth it. And I just waited. And so it's to show you that you kind of have to just do it. And that's literally what it is. I have an accountability partner for my business, and we were talking about the fact that if you wait to always do something, you're never going to do it. Like I could have waited to do this webinar in June when I felt more prepared and I wasn't as scared and I've never done this. Oh my God, there's so much technological and technical stuff going on. Are they going to be able to hear me? Okay. If you guys didn't hear me, then what would have happened? No one would have died. No one would have gone to jail. So ask yourself, why do you wait? Why do you wait to share those dreams, those desires with the world? Why do you wait? Are you believe that you can't do it? And why is that? And where does that come from? I wrote a blog post called Yesterday You Said Tomorrow. Yesterday You Said Tomorrow is always procrastinating and talking about, man, tomorrow I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I have this idea, I'm gonna do that, but you never actually get to it. And that's why I always say obedience is better than sacrifice. When you hear the word, do it. Do not wait until later because it'll become less likely that you'll actually do it. When I'm working on things for my site or a program that I'm preparing, I'm like, oh man, I got a flash of inspiration. I'll do that later. And then it's gone and I don't remember what happened. So I encourage you to remember this. Be like Nike and just do it. Do not wait for the right job. Do not wait for the right resources. Do not wait for your mom, your husband, your circumstances to be perfect. They will never be perfect. You have to actually go ahead and leap and understand that what you see on IG, what you see on Facebook, what you see on social media didn't happen overnight. And we use the excuse of not having money. And I will share a personal story with you about how I invested in myself, and I hope that you invest in my course. And if you don't, I'm happy that you came to the webinar, but using the excuse of not having enough money. So we'll deal with that one because somebody posted that in the chat room. When you're hungry, you find a way to get food, right? And so you have to ask yourself, how badly do you want it? And you have to open up your mind beyond the limitations. I remember when I invested $2,000 into a training program to help me get my site off the ground, to help me see how I was going to structure my business. $2,000. That was at the point when I was living in a room. I was renting a room from a woman. I was working somewhere that was not my dream job, far from it. and just making excuses. And I was paying student loans, I was paying rent, I was paying to take care of myself. And I had to make the choice. I researched this training for a year, so it took me a long time to do it. But I told myself, if I don't do this now, and if I don't find a way to actually discipline myself to find this money, then it's never going to happen. Because how was I going to find $2,000? But I made the conscious choice that I wasn't going to go out anymore. I wasn't going to go out to eat. All the little things that made me feel good had to be put to the side for the bigger goal and the bigger dream. And so I say, even if you don't have enough money to do what you want to do, what would you do if you didn't think that it was impossible? Put the money aside. So let me give you an example. I was recently looking for an apartment and I didn't have the money and I needed to move and I needed to be in my own space. So I thought to myself, what would I do if it wasn't impossible or if I didn't think it was impossible for me to fail? And I said, okay, if I'm looking for an apartment and I didn't take into consideration that I didn't have the money, what would I do? I would go look at a place, even if I didn't have the money. So what I did is I called up real estate agents and I set up meetings and I visited 10 apartments and I took notes and I took pictures. And the opportunity came up where I actually ended up having the security deposit and the money and the rent for the first 2 months. So I am a prayer warrior. My faith is really strong. And I think that faith works. Wait, hold on, let me get that right. Faith without works is dead. So just because you don't have the money or you're making all these excuses, I want you to ask yourself, what would I do if I didn't think that it was impossible? What would you do? For me, it was making those appointments with those real estate agents, going there, seeing all these places, and not telling myself that I couldn't afford it because the money showed up at the end of the day by crazy and miraculous. In order for you to be like Nike and just do it, you have to dig your ditches expecting that they're going to be filled. So that's what I'd like to say about be like Nike and just do it. And let me read some of the comments in the comment box so I can respond to. Let's see. Failing publicly holds me back at times. Critics are relentless with public figures and celebrities over small things I'm developing. Yeah, and that's true. And I don't know. I think that it all goes back also to self-love and self-worth, because when you know who you are and whose you are, you don't have time necessarily to listen to what the critics say. And what I've realized is people are always going to talk. People have talked from the dawn of time. But what you have to realize is that instead of talking, you're busy doing. So don't pay attention to what other people have to say. Get busy doing, because as you do, the more success you will come, the more confidence will come, and people will actually start to believe in what you're doing. A lot of people that criticize wish they were doing the same thing that you were doing. It's just kind of like hate that's misplaced. They kind of don't understand how you're doing it, and you used to be in the same position as them. So they're hating, but the hating is misplaced. They kind of wish they were able to do the same thing that you were doing. That's why people gossip and criticize each other. So try and move out of that in terms of feeling criticized and not believing in yourself. You have to push forward with it anyway. They criticize Jesus. So if they criticize Jesus, they're going to criticize you. So that's just to say, do not let it stop you. So I hope that this was helpful. Oh, and the last point that I wanted to make, which I already talked about and I want to emphasize, especially today in social media, when we sign on to our Instagrams and Facebooks, we see people looking amazing. They're the perfect size. They got all this money. They're blinged out. They got the car. They got the perfect house, the perfect husband, everything. But you have to realize that it didn't happen overnight. When people look at my natural hair, they're like, oh my God, your hair is so beautiful. My closest friends can attest to you when my hair was as short as peanuts, is what I'll say. So it's not about the quantum leap. I want you to realize that when you do it, take the small step. If that means calling I don't even know what your dream would be. Let's say you want to start a cake business. calling up the bakery to see if you can go and intern or volunteer on the weekends. It's something as simple as that. Do not make it complicated. It's when we try to complicate things that we get stuck in a rut. So I hope that this was helpful. And I want to say that it is time for you to get it together and say enough is enough and actually make that conscious decision that now is the time for you. So if you're interested, we're going to close, and I like to share my screen with you so you can see what I've been working on in the background, and to see what I'm going to be doing 2 more. And if you're interested, you can join me. If not, I will send you guys the replay. So I'm so excited that you guys joined me, and I hope that you have decided that you're ready to make a move and that 2015 is actually going to be the year that you actually do something about it. And hit me up if you have any questions, comments. Check out my page. You can go to my website. I hope you guys have checked out my new website, www.omgiloveyourhair.com, and you should check it out. I have my new course called Enough is Enough. It's time to get unstuck and get your ish together. So go on there, click on there, find out if it's something that interests you. It's for 4 weeks where we actually dig deep into your limitations. We get focused. I give you homework so you can actually take action and not always be so doubtful and scared. And before you know it, it'll be 2016 and you'll be sitting right where you were wondering what happened. So I love you guys. I'm so excited that you joined me today, and that's all I have for you. So let me know. You guys can hit me up on Facebook, send me an email, and I'm just going to be in the chat. Let's see. Very inspirational. Thank you. Oh, thank you. No competition, collaboration. Let's see. So somebody recapped focusness, be like Nike. Yes, and that's true. So yeah, so I wish you guys a good night. Sleep well, be blessed. Hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Instagram, check out my site, check out the course, and hopefully I'll see you on the inside. I love you. Be blessed. Good night.